First of all, we need to move closer. So, because you know why, so come on up. Come on up. I want to get you a little bit out of your comfort zone, but also, and people with ties can move too. Sometimes they don't think that they have to move. So, just come on up. Thank you. I don't point elbows, you know, the shoe fits. Like many of you, I really appreciate hecklers, so feel free. First of all, I want to make sure that this is a school function. Is that correct? Right? Okay, so I want to make sure everyone has a piece of paper and a writing utensil. If you don't have a piece of paper or a writing utensil, please get one from your friend. Warriors bring their weapons. I just saw a teacher bite her lip about having a pencil and a piece of paper. I think that's funny. All right, so if you don't have one, get one from your friend. I'm serious. Find a buddy, a friend, a pal who came prepared. Sound familiar? Because you will need this one today. And do not ask me if this will be on the test. Well, my name is Koen, and I live in a suburb of the Twin Cities, and you'll probably know more about me than you ever want to know about me. Just as a time check, we'll be done in the session at 9:15. Just want to double check, because sometimes people get confused and all sorts of stuff. So let's get started. So today we're going to kind of talk about Diversity 101, Reload and Recharge. And what I'd like to ask you is, when you think of diversity, what kinds of things come up for you? What kinds of things come up for you? Learning styles, culture, language, values, change. What was that? Clothing. All right. So those are the things that come up when we think about diversity. Now, if I were to ask you to define diversity, to give me a definition of diversity, how many different varieties might I receive from each of you? Would you give me the same succinct answer? Probably not, right? Which tells me if I'm giving a test and all of my students give me different answers, there's something wrong, right? There's something wrong. And so one of the things that I've learned and I've seen is that we've kind of hit this plateau where diversity has come to mean everything and it means nothing. When I was in college, I lived with a bunch of guys, and we decided that we wouldn't assign anyone the dishes, that we would all do our own dish. How do you think that worked out? It didn't work at all, right? Because we weren't accountable, the dishes never got done. All right. So in the time that we have, this is what we'll talk about. This is what I'll walk us through. All right. But before that, I need something from you, and I'm gonna get it from you. I'm gonna ask for it, and I'm gonna get it because you guys are loving, caring people, and you want to make sure that my presentation goes well and that I am not embarrassed, because that would be painful, right? So to do that, I'm going to give you a pop quiz. All right? And unfortunately, I taught in a school district. I taught in St. Paul in a small charter school, and we taught to the test. I know sometimes that's bad language, right? Bad teaching. But I wanted to make sure that I kept a job and that my students perform well on those tests. So I taught to the test. And so every Friday, my students were amazed that every Friday we would have a pop quiz. Every Friday. And they were surprised. And one of the things that I did, because I was teaching to the test, that there was nothing on the test that I had not gone over the week before. And some of the students were even surprised that they actually knew the answers for the pop quiz that happened every Friday. So I'm going to do that for you today. I'm going to teach to the test because I'm going to give you a pop quiz. But I want you to be successful. So I'm going to give you the answers first. All right? So the answer goes like this. Fantastic. Terrific. Great. All day long. Huh. That's the answer. All right? So please stand up. And I want you to practice the answer with me. And the answer is fantastic, terrific, great, all day long. Huh. All right? So that is the answer. The question is, how do you feel?
Fantastic, terrific, great, all day long.
All right, it is very clear that there are Lutherans in the room. I happen to be an evangelical Pentecostal with lots of fervor and excitement. And so what I'd like for you to do, because Lutherans are just like that, except they keep it contained. So I want you to cut loose, and I want to know, how do you feel? How do you feel?
Fantastic, terrific, great, all day long.
Very good, very good, very good. You may be seated. Thank you. How many people felt like you're being silly or, just out of sorts doing that? Anyone raise your hand, please? All right, cool. I like doing that because it gets us going, it gets us up. But oftentimes our students feel the very same way that we felt doing that activity. We're asking them to do some things that are foreign to them, that are different than what they've typically been used to doing. And so we ask them to step out of our comfort zones. And so I want you to remember what that felt like to be outside your comfort zone. So let me get started. I love technology and children and small animals, especially when they do what they're supposed to. So, what's about this child's behavior. Can you tell me any reason why this child is falling out? Why is he falling out? You don't know?
Not getting what he wants.
What's that?
Not getting what he
He's
wants.
not getting what he wants. Why else is this child falling out? Because it's worked before. Because it's worked before. Can we assume that this is probably not his first time doing this? Can we assume it's probably not his 17th time doing this? Right? Part of the reason that the child is falling out is because he believes that it works. And why does he believe that it works? Because it has worked. As human beings, one of the things that we do is we keep doing things that we think works because it did at one point. This child will continue to fall on the floor until he realizes what? That this behavior is not working. So what else do we know? That since this child is falling out and it seems to be kind of consistent, what else do we know about him? What about his family situation? Who's raising who? It's very clear that the child is raising the parents because they respond to that stuff. All right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about my approach to diversity and looking at diversity stuff and just how I see the world. When I get cold, my finger gets really small and my wedding ring falls off. And that's not a good thing, just so you know. He's just looking like, yeah. People can learn, change, and grow. That's one of the basic premises of why we're in this business. Once we don't believe that people can learn, change, and grow, it is time for us to retire. And I know that there are biological behavioralists who say that we're predisposed to certain types of conditions, certain types of attitudes, certain types of behavior. But as a teacher, I refuse to believe that. And why do you think I choose not to believe that our genes dictate our behavior? Because what? Yeah, I can't change my genes. I'm destined to do what my parents did. I'm destined to continue a life that may be something that I don't want. So I get to change that. Also, that all human behavior is goal-directed. Everybody does what they do because they are trying to achieve a goal. And it's funny because kids get a sense of that, but they're not articulated enough to really express that, so you typically get what? Why did you do that, Jeffrey? I don't know, right? But we know that Jeffrey was trying to accomplish some kind of goal. We also understand that people do what makes sense to them, even if it doesn't make sense to you. And it's funny because I don't know about you, but I found myself in this cycle. And it was really funny to be on the other side of this, right? So when I was a kid and I was mad at my teacher, I would do my homework. Yeah. Because I'm a rebel. I'm going to show that teacher by not doing my homework. That doesn't make sense. But it made sense to me because I thought that I had a sense of power and control. And lastly, attitude is a response to a goal. How many people have interacted with someone with attitude? How many people have had an attitude? All right, so what is attitude? What have we been taught about what an attitude is? What have your parents said to you about your attitude? That you need to have a good attitude, you need to change it. What else? What's that? They're not going to put up with your attitude. Did anyone ever really break it down what an attitude was? Because it's funny, my parents would tell me to fix my attitude. And they go to your room so you can learn how to act. And I'd be in my into the hallway, and I'd say, "To be or not to be?" That wasn't quite what we were talking about. So I ended up spending a lot more time but I'll give you a different way to think about attitudes. Typically, we talk about some kind of emotional disposition, an emotional response to external stimuli is an attitude. And what I'd like to offer you is a different way to think about an attitude. All right? So my dad was the pastor of our church. So I'm a pastor's kid, a PK, preacher's kid. And so we went to church one Sunday from 7:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. We would stop at 3 o'clock for chicken, not because we were black, but because chicken is delicious. So Sunday, all day. Friday night, I asked my dad for the car. And because my dad loves me, what does my dad say? No, he says yes. He wants me to be happy, right? So I say my dad has what kind of an attitude? A good or positive attitude. He says what about my attitude? That I have a positive or good attitude. All right? So Sunday comes along, and my best friend Dexter calls me and says, "Andre, can you go to the show?" Which means he can pick me up and take me to movies, right? So I know what Sundays are all about. But you know what? I'm feeling pretty gutsy. So I'm going to gamble on Jesus. You know, come on, Jesus, come on. So I go to my father and I say, "Dad, can I use the car?" And what do I already know? Yeah, he's going to say no, right? But instead of just saying no, not only does he say no, but he gives me a lecture on top of it. You know, we have transition and we have service and we have to pick up people and blah, 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 blah. So what do I say about my dad's attitude? That it's bad. Consequently, what does he say about my attitude? That it's bad. So what is it that actually determines an attitude? Starts with G, ends in O's. Your goals determine your attitude, right? Because it's really funny when teenagers get what it is that they want. They are the sweetest, kindest, cuddly. I mean, they actually even purr, right? But when they don't get what they want, they are the nastiest, evil. I just want to strangle you, but I love you. So attitude is actually related to a goal. So if I see someone with a lot of attitude, I'm interacting with a kid with a lot of attitude, what do I know? That he's not getting what he wants. He's not getting his goal. So if I want to help him, what do I need to find out? What the goal is. All right? What the goal is. So this is a snapshot of my life thus far. And that's me as a little baby. And this is my family. This is me with a big white bow tie. That's my brother Will and my sister Crystal. And this is my grandmother, my grandfather, Laura and John. And this is my Uncle John and my Uncle Alonzo, or Rick. And then that's my dad in the middle. And then this is my family in our Cosby years. And if you look close, you can see Vanessa and Theo. And then this is me in my teen years. And I have to tell you, I love Facebook and I hate Facebook all at the same time. Right? So now I am I'm a highly involved individual. Right? So I recycle. I eat organic. I do yoga. I do some manscaping. I'm highly involved. But Facebook, people keep putting pictures up of me from my past. And it's like totally blowing my image. I'm like, get that out. And so here's a picture of me. And you can't see it really well from your seat, but this is my friend Samisha, and this is me. And Samisha is holding an Uzi, semi-automatic weapon. And I am holding a double-barrel sawed-off shotgun. Now, I know that seems scary, but let me put it in context for you. We were at a concert, And the name of the band, even if you don't know the band plays, the name of the band will kind of give you what we were all about at that point in time, right? So the name of the band was Public Enemy, right? So we were fighting the power. So that's me. And so I am my father's son. In 1968, what was happening in the world? The Vietnam War, civil rights, what else? What's that? Hippies were happening in 1968. And in 1968, I have to tell you, my parents are African American. Which means I'm African American. I didn't want anyone to be alarmed or shocked or anything like that, all right? So we like to bring that out up front, all right? And so since my parents were African American, one event in 1968 could have had a huge impact on my parents in 1968? The assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. And my parents graduated from high school in 68. They turned 18 in 1968, and my father said, you know what, I want to do something about the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. And my grandparents said, cool, do it someplace else. So we went off to college and he became a Black Panther. Now, I don't know what you know about Black Panthers, what you think you know about Black Panthers, but primarily they were a political party working to raise poor people, and particularly poor Black people. And one of the programs that's around today, because of the Panthers, is something called the Federal School Lunch Program. The federal government said, hey, Panthers, that's a really good idea. We'll stomp you out, but we'll take your ideas, all right? And so my father became a Black Panther. And then in 1970, the most amazing, incredible, beautiful thing that could ever happen to my father happens. And at that time, he realized that the revolution does not pay. There's no health care in the revolution, and the retirement plan for revolutionaries sucks. So he leaves the revolution, and he gets an L7 square job. Shout out to Rick James. He gets a regular job. And on this regular job, he gets a call from God. Now, what happens when you get a call from God? You answer. I was in another session and I asked that question, and the gentleman said, you run. I'm like, where? Right? So he gets a call from God. And so in my presentation, it might seem like I'm getting a little bit political, and I am. And it's so funny because the gentleman said, sir, it sounds like you have a political position. I said, I do. It's called the Constitution of the United States. And I swear we will either live by that or we will die by that. But that's my political position. And it also might seem like I'm preaching to the choir, but in the words of my father, the choir needs preaching too. All right? So, just a little bit about me. So I want to talk a little bit about this diversity thing, because I think there are a lot of ways that we kind of lost our way when we think and talk about diversity. All right? First of all, I'm going to talk about what diversity is not, and then I'm going to get you moving a little bit. All right? So diversity is not political correctness. In the 90s, we did a really good job of pausing people before they said dumb stuff. But now political correctness has become what? It's a joke. I mean, you can't have conversations because you don't know what to call people. Or at least I don't know what to call people, right? So I end up with these convoluted, extra terms to describe this white dude who's in the cube next to me, right? So it's not about political correctness. I was in a session once, and a woman stood up and she said, Andre, I want to know why all the colored people are moving into my neighborhood. What do you think the audience did? That's exactly what they did. Were you there? The audience said, and why'd they go, because it's inappropriate. You're not supposed to say colored, but you can say colored people. But that's a whole other conversation, right? But she stood there, and I looked at her, and one of the things that I noticed about her was that I could tell that she didn't have a lot of stamps in her passport. I could tell that she had been to the finest of, Midwest Ivy League universities. And when I looked at her, what I saw was a light beaming. I saw a person who had the courage to ask a question that other people didn't have the courage to do. So how did I respond to her? What did I say to her? What did I do for her? What do you think? I answered her question. All the extra terms, and then I can pull her aside and educate her on what to say and what not to say. But the most important thing was that I saw that in her heart was a person who had a pure question, and that I could be of service to her. So I honored her and answered her question. Diversity is also not just black and white. However, I think that once we've learned the lessons of our both social, racial construct of black and white, as well as the metaphor of black and white, that once we've learned those lessons, we can start applying those lessons to heterosexism and homophobia and religious bias, sexism. We can start really breaking down the system of oppression by using black and white as our metaphor. Diversity is also not about blame, guilt, or fault. The situations and the ways that we find our world are not our fault, but they are, however, our responsibility. All right? Diversity is also not about therapy. I know that I've been in a diversity training, tons of diversity trainings, where it seemed like the trainer's primary objective was to get people to cry or to feel bad about themselves, right? What happens when people feel bad about themselves or feel guilty? Do they get really motivated and say, yes, I want to be a part of that? Is that what happens? No, they shut down and they don't want to be a part of it. We hate pain. Pain is no good. So a lot of times we end up in these sessions that are painful. All right, so I'm going to keep moving. Meritocracy. Diversity is also not meritocracy, and meritocracy is the concept that if you work hard enough, you can be just like me. What's the problem with meritocracy? What's the problem with that concept? Everyone's different. We say we have an equal system when, in fact, we know that we kind of don't. We have an almost three-tier system, sometimes within our own buildings, right? So the opportunity to do that is not the same, as well as the fact that it would be a shame for me to play basketball or to have LeBron James play basketball at my level. It would be a shame that if he had to be just like me, that would be a horrible world for those basketball fans, right? And lastly, diversity is not about tolerance. Now, I don't make a lot of diversity friends when I start talking about this stuff, because there are websites and books and people have made their whole life talking about, we need more tolerance and acceptance. When you look at the word tolerance, what does it mean? To put up with. Now, I want to say this because I love my brother-in-law, and I love my sister, and I love their kids. But when that dude comes over to visit, I tolerate him. Why? Because I know when he's leaving. Tolerance says we will put up with something, or put up with a group of people, or put up with the mindset, or put up with the behavior until we don't have to. Are our communities getting less diverse? Are our human relations getting less complicated? Are our nations getting less interdependent? And the answer for me is no, that they're not. And so tolerance isn't a way to get there. Now, I hear a lot of people's little thought bubbles. I see them, right? Because there are people who preach these methods of doing training and looking at diversity, and I'm coming in the face of that thing. But what I would like to offer you is that political correctness and meritocracy and tolerance, those are, well, let me say it like this. Babies drink milk. Why do babies drink milk? It's all they can tolerate. What else? They always have. What else? It's what we give them, right? And it's the first building block of nutrients that they get from either the mother or from Similac, right? So babies drink milk, but at some point, babies move from milk to tofu. I'm a part-time vegetarian. I guess that would make me omnivore, right? So tolerance and political correctness and meritocracy, those are great first steps. Unfortunately, we've looked at those as the end caps, that those are the destinations, the end of the journey, as opposed to thinking of them as part of the journey. All right. So I hear the second level. So I hear if you're saying these things aren't diversity, what have you got? Right. So this is what I like to offer. That diversity is understanding that there is dignity and honor in being human. All right? What is dignity? What does it mean to be dignified? Yes, ma'am? Okay, respectful, dignity. Respecting, so being respectful, being respecting. What else? Being a part of. All right. Self-worth, having some self-worth. I'm going to start picking on people in the back. Look, they peeked up. Their heads lit up like, oh, by the way, if you have a cell phone or an iPad or a computer, a laptop, feel free to use it and text me. I like that. All right. So dignity. Is dignity something that you have or something that you can give? Something you have or something you give?
You have to have it to give it.
You have to have it to give it. It is, in fact, both. Dignity is something that you can have and something you can give. And so how do you give dignity? What's at the root of dignity? At the root of dignity says, I exist. And I'd like you to acknowledge that I exist. So one of the things that, I don't know how it is here in Iowa, but in the Twin Cities, we have lots of people on the on-ramps and the off-ramps with cardboard signs that say, we'll work for blah, 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 blah. Right? Do you have those folks here? Okay, cool. I give them tons of stuff, and I give it to them all the time on a frequent basis. Guess what I give them? I give them dignity, because I'm not coming back with cash. It's just, if you feed a stray cat, he's going to come back. All right? No, but how I give those people dignity is that I have conversations with them. I ask them about their story. I want to find out why they're in this issue that they're in. I give them dignity. Because I've also found that when you don't give people dignity, they will try and take it. And, young people are just incredible because you would think with all of that youth and all of that energy, they would cross the street just a little bit faster. I don't know about you, but when I'm at the light and the kids are crossing the street, it's like they start going in slow motion. And then they're like, look at me, like, I dare you to hit me. What are they saying? What they're saying is, you don't see me any other time. You don't, as an adult, you don't acknowledge that I exist, but you will see me now. What they don't know is I don't have any points in my license, and I got really good car insurance. Right? So there is dignity and honor. And it's really funny. When my mother and I talk, I'm really close to my mom. And so we used to talk a lot about politics, current events, and things happening around the world. And more recently, we've been talking a lot about the cafeterias in the hospital. We're talking about hormone changes. We're talking about how things are falling and shifting. And it's actually quite nasty. Talk to your mom about that kind of stuff, right? And so one day I kind of got fed up. I was like, Mom, just stop talking about this stuff. It's kind of creeping me out. And she broke down and she said, Andre, you don't understand. I've never been 60 before. And I looked at her and I was like, yeah, because 59 must have been so different. Right? But one of the things that I understood was the principle that she was trying to teach me. And I looked at my own life and I was like, wow, I've never been 40 before. This is a new experience for me as well. So I'm trying to figure out, just as she's trying to figure out, just as you're trying to figure out, just as your students are trying to figure out, what it means to be who they are in this time. We're trying to figure out what it means to be. So there's dignity and honor in being human. And in the last part, I really got excited because I looked the word human up in the dictionary. And I found that it had two words. That there are two words that human means. That there are two definitions, right? The first is Homo sapiens sapien. The one that knows that they know that they exist. That we have opposable thumbs, that we're bipeds, we have a big brain and a belly button. If you ever encounter someone without a belly button, be concerned. So human. But then I also saw that human, the second definition was that of an adjective. And what do adjectives do? They describe. Now, before I go any further, I have to make this little caveat because I work with lawyers, and so they've trained me how to, have these kind of conversations. And so an animal rights lawyer really jumped on me, and she chewed me up, no pun intended, and helped correct me on some things. Okay. So in this next part, what I'm not suggesting is that animals don't have feelings. I'm not suggesting that animals don't have feelings. I'm not suggesting that they don't have souls, that they don't communicate, that they don't have wants, desires, and needs. I'm not suggesting that. What I am suggesting is that as human beings, there are ways that I expect human beings to interact with each other, that if my dog did, I would be surprised. So what are some of those ways that we expect human beings to interact with each other, that if animals did, we'd go, how do you expect humans to interact with each other? To have empathy. To put yourself in someone else's place. What else do you expect from other human beings? To be cooperative, to work collaboratively on building something together. In the back, what are some of the things that you expect from your students in terms of how they interact with each other? Respect. That they both receive it and give it. Right? So there is dignity and honor in being human. None of us have done anything to be here ourselves. We all accepted an invitation. I don't like to think about how that invitation came. That's kind of disgusting, but we accepted an invitation to be here. And we're all trying to figure out how to get dignity, honor, and respect. And it was funny. I heard you mention respect. Anyone heard that? My students would say this to me: "Man, you got to earn my respect." Anybody heard that from someone? Anyone ever said it? I want to tell you that respect can never be earned. It can never be earned. Respect has to be given. And the reason I came up with that, because as a teacher, we need to be able to measure things like learning and competence in something. And so my high school students would come up to me and they'd be like, yo, man, what's up? You know, you got to earn my respect. And I'd be like, really? All right, so give me the checklist. Where's the standardized test? How do I know that I have done enough to earn your respect? So what are you saying? What I'm saying is that you have to be respectful before you get it. Now, this is the tricky part about this concept and the way that I look at the world and the way that I talk about diversity. To give respect, you have to give it to people who are being disrespectful. I don't know if it was Evander Holyfield or Mike Tyson or somebody, but they said everybody can box until you get hit. When folks are being disrespectful to you, how you respond to them is not about them. It's all about you. And so I really work with my students to help them analyze their own behaviors. Because it's easy to be respectful to somebody who's being respectful to you. But can you be respectful to someone in the face of disrespect? All right? All right. So we're going to do an activity right now. What I'd like you to do is take that piece of paper and that pencil that you had, and I want you to draw 5 circles. I want you to draw 5 circles. And I want you to put one thing that you value in each one of those circles. One thing that you value in each one of those circles. It could be a concept, a person, a thing, one thing that you value. What I'd like you to do, we're going to play a quick game. The game is very simple. What I want you to do is I want you to find two different people for each one of your circles. So one of the things that you value, I want you to find 2 different people for each one of those. Once you find those individuals who either agree or like or have on their paper what you have on yours, I want them to put their initials in your circle. All right? And I will give you about a minute and a half to do this. Mark, get set, go. 45 seconds.
I'll put that in my Instagram. Okay.
30 seconds.
What do you have on your phone? I just got it. I know. This is my father. Oh, you're okay. Yeah, so I value my wife as well. Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I have to say, I am not used to a crowd of this many people being so quiet. Usually people are jumping up and down and screaming. Yeah. All right. So, was there anyone else able to get 10? To get all 10 votes? 8? 7? 7. All right, anyone get, so nobody get, okay, 7, 8, okay, cool. If you want to stand up, please. Oh, all those who get 7s, please stand up. Let's give them a round of applause. And that was your reward, just so you know. So as you, why do you think I would do an experiment or an activity like that? All right, to get you up and moving, to also realize that we have what? We have much more in common than in ways we're dissimilar. We're more similar than we're dissimilar. Was there anything that you saw in someone else's paper that you were like, man, I should have wrote that down, or I didn't think of that? Was there anything like that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what was an example of that? Education, all right, what was that? Health, all right, one more.
Friends?
Friends, all right, cool. Was there something on your paper that you were like, man, I can't believe I couldn't find anybody who had this? Was there anything like that? Yes, what was yours? Air. Okay, air or oxygen. Please raise your hand if you value air or oxygen, even if it wasn't written on your paper. And some people still didn't raise their hand. What? Something bad, right? So, I want you to remember that there are a lot more ways that we are alike than we are dissimilar. What I'd like you to do now is I want you to draw another circle. And on I'd like for this circle to be as big as it possibly can be on whatever piece of paper you're using. All right? This is the circle of all human knowledge. Okay, it's a little melodramatic, right? So let's just say that it's the pie of all human knowledge. What I'd like you to do is we're going to cut this pie into 3 pieces. The first piece of pie is the size of what you know of everything that there is to know. So all math, science, all religions, chemistry. What do you know of everything that there is to know? All right. So what kinds of things are contained in your piece of pie, of things that you know? What are the 3 things that you know? You know today is Monday. You know what? You know yourself. Okay, what else? One more thing you know. Teachers. What's that? You know about 5-year-olds. All right? So those are the things that you know. What I'd like for you to do now is I want you to cut yourself a piece of pie relative to the size of what you know that you do not know. For example, I know that I do not know the Mandarin Chinese. I know that they don't know how to fly a space shuttle. Those are things that I know that I don't know. And some people might say, well, that's the rest of the pie. I want to say it's quantifiable. All right? So I want you to try it and quantify it because we have one more piece to get to. All right? So cut that second piece of pie. All right. right, so what kinds of things are contained in, give me three things that are contained in that piece of pie. Okay, not knowing Chinese as well, right? What else? Knowing how to do ballet, all right? One more. Economics. Understanding economics. All right? So there's what you know, there's what you know you don't know, and what's left? What's the last part? It is, in fact, what you don't know, right? And it's so funny because Donald Rumsfeld just came up with a book called Don't Know What You Don't Know, or something like that, right? And I was doing this presentation and someone said, hey, you stole that from Donald Rumsfeld. And I looked right back at him and they said, you can use it for good or for evil. You decide. So there's what you know you don't know, and there's what you don't know. So if I combine what I know and what I don't know, I might call that the truth. Right? And so part of our human existence is to try to expand that part of what we don't know. We also might call that a blind spot. Right? So as educators, how do we encourage people to decrease their blind spot? What process do we take them through to get this particular result that starts with an L and ends in earning? We take them through a process and we hope that we get a product called learning. So what is learning? Teachers. What's that? You don't know what you don't know? Yes, ma'am. In the purple one. So you lips. It's finding out what you don't know. Okay? What else is learning? Gaining knowledge. All right? And I want to suggest to you that those answers are partially correct. I'll tell you a story. So my niece is now 16. She gets embarrassed when I tell this story. But when she was 4, I was visiting. My sister was cooking dinner for her family. My 4-year-old niece walks into the kitchen to help. She puts her hand on the stove. Psst. What happens to my niece's hand? She gets an allergy, she burns it, she cries, right? Tuesday night, my sister is cooking dinner for her family. My 4-year-old niece comes into the kitchen to help and puts her hand on the stove. Psst. Did my niece learn? No. How do I know? Because she did the same undesirable behavior again. Now, I know some of you are going back to my earlier comment that she obviously was trying to get some kind of goal, and so she was continuing to do that. But I would say that she did not learn what we were asking her to learn. And how do I know she didn't learn? Because she did it again. A lot of times, particularly with kids, we approach learning from this very theoretical construct of, exploring yourself and expanding your mind, when really we should be measuring learning by what kids are doing. If I go to medical school and I come out a carpenter, is it fair to say that I didn't learn what I set out to learn? Right? So learning is evidence, and it's so funny because we come to these trainings a lot of times and we don't leave with learning. And I say that learning is a change in behavior. You haven't been successful in any of these sessions if you don't take something that we've learned, we've taught you, learn it and change your behavior. Right? Because it's easy for a 5-year-old to bump Jimmy on the head and then say what? I'm sorry. And they're quick to say it too. Well, I'm sorry. And then as soon as you turn your back, what happens? Right? So there's that. So there's things you know, you don't know, and you don't know. Now, this is what we refer to as a paradigm. All right? And a paradigm is simply the way you see the world. So I'm going to show you a short clip about mindset. And this features someone been exposed to her work. So we'll just watch this.
Science. Are certain races smarter? Those are the stereotypes, but now some psychologists say stereotypes can become self-fulfilling prophecies. Ever seen this ad depicting a ditzy woman trying to get into college?
What are your plans for the future?
One study showed that women who watched ads like this before taking a math test scored 38% lower than women who didn't see the ad. An Apple Education and Test Prep company helped us run similar tests. And sure enough, on our own scientific test, the women who saw the sexist commercials did worse. Some lady told us they found those results hard to believe. It's so powerful to just watch it with an ad.
No, I don't think so.
The women in your group did worse.
The only way for it to work is that you have to internalize it. I guess you don't know what's really affecting you, which is creepy in and of itself.
The stereotype effect has been found in study after study. This is NYU psychology professor Joshua Ernst.
We found that just reminding the women that they were college students at a selective college overcame the gender gap. However, when we remind them that they're women, the gap widens.
You tell Asians that the great Asians do well in math.
Yes.
Their scores go up. Then what does the stereotype that blacks test poorly do to a black person who's about to take a test?
The situation of taking an IQ test for a black kid is so loaded
The good news, researchers say, is that if students and teachers are just aware of the stereotype effect, they're on their way to overcoming at least part of it.
And if they aren't aware, let it happen. And you take that in and it become part of yourself. You don't have to do it. It's just time to be on the stereotypes.
What I'd like to do now is I want to have some conversation about the video, but I also would like to make sure that we analyze ourselves, because it's very easy to look at someone else and say what they would or wouldn't do, what was right or good or not about that. So if you could do me a favor and pass these cards out, if you could just go to that section. Sir, if you could do this section. Third section, and I'll start with that as well. So on this card, what you will see is this is a picture and diagram. If you could just take some. If you could take this and pass it forward. Yeah, that's fine. Take a bunch so you can pass it forward. What you see on this card is on the back side it says ABC, and on the bottom it says 1, 2, 3. And I'd like you to pay particular attention to the picture in letter A. And what is that a picture of in letter A? What is that a picture of in letter A? It is a bird. Thank you so much, Jim. It is a bird. What I'd like to also offer you is that there is also an island with 2 trees, a fish, and a person in a canoe. It's a big fish. Some people see it, some people don't, some people are faking it, and that's okay. All right? But what I would like to suggest to you, that if you turn that card upside down or right side up, you will have the opportunity to focus on a different image. All right? And so when we talk about, paradigms, when we talk about the mindsets of individuals, if we want to change a paradigm, one of the first things that we do is we must be physically active in doing something different. If we do what we've always done, what do we get? The same results. And some people say, well, that's, maybe that's dumbing down the curriculum, or maybe that's being, not living high, having high standards, blah, 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 blah. What I would say is that the dinosaurs are not around because they couldn't adjust their standards. We have a changing world. It's very clear that we have a number of immigrant groups. We have a number of so-called minority groups that are in LD or EBD, special ed, blah, blah, blah. There's going to come a time when special ed is going to become mainstream. We have to start looking at our language education programs not as something separate and aside, but something that is necessary for our world. The biggest economy in the world is China. How many of us can speak Chinese other than saying number 4 at the restaurant of our choice? We have to start thinking differently. Now, the other thing that's funny is, and I saw it happen here too, is that people started turning their card, and they kept turning it, and pretty soon they had rotisserie chicken. So it's not enough just to do something different, but we must have different expectations. Because as the videos show, that students, children, and adults will rise and fall to what? Our expectations. I want you to look at number B, or letter B, rather. And what is that image of the letter B? It's a face, and it's also what? the word liar. Much of the time. It's also the word liar. Oftentimes, if I lock onto one way of thinking or one way that the world should be or having my set way of how things should be, is it possible that I could be missing other things? Yes. But one of the things that I talked about earlier in my presentation, that saves us, that makes us individuals that can continue on when dinosaurs couldn't. We can learn, change, and grow. And so I have an opportunity. If I see the world one way, I have an opportunity to see the world in a different way. Because if I lock onto one thing, I'm locking out other things. But I have the opportunity to change my mind. One last thing we'll do, because I think we have just enough time for this. And I want you to read the sentence, finished files. Do you see that in the green section? I want you to read that to yourself. Once you've done that, put that down on your lap. So read it and then put it down on your lap. All right? And once you've done it, if you can make eye contact with me, then I'll know that you're done. All right? Did anyone memorize that by chance? Okay, you didn't have to. It was just test. But what I'd like you to do is I want you to read it again, and I want you to count the number of F's as in Frank. All right? And then I'm going to ask you how many F's you were able to count. All right? Can someone shout out the number of F's? 1 F. I got 1 F.
5.
I got 5 F's. I got 6 F's. Do I have any other numbers of F's? 7 F's? 6? Anybody see 3? Okay, cool. Thank you for being honest, right? Because other people, I don't see you. Okay, so how is it that we can all see different? We're reading okay, so there's an assumption that we have to make. There's two. One assumption is that either we are reading the same card or we're all reading different cards. I'm a teacher by trade, so I don't make a lot of money, so we all have the same card. All right? So it's pretty obvious to some of you. Why is it that we see different F's? Some of them don't stick out, right? Typically what happens is people either see all of the F's in the words like finished or files, or they miss the F's in the word of. And typically why do people miss the F in the word of? Because it sounds like a V. Does anyone know why OF makes the OV sound? Because it's English? Nobody knows, and guess what? It doesn't matter. You need to know that OF makes the OV sound, right? And how have you come to understand that OF makes the OV sound? Did you come out of your mother's womb and raise your arms towards the heavens and say, OF makes the OV sound? Is that what you did? No. You were taught that OF makes the OV sound. And it does because people taught you that. Racism, discrimination, sexism, homophobia, religious bias, political bias are all things that can be taught. And I get excited when I see and interact with a racist. Why do I get excited? Because I know they weren't born that way. And I have an opportunity to teach them something new. My name is Andre.